Hello and good morning. This is Holly live from 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 studio, and you're watching the early trades. Let's cast an eye over how the market charter is panning out today. Australian shares are trading higher on Friday, tracking a rally on Wall Street overnight as investors shrugged off their inflation concerns. The S&P/ASX 200 is trading up by 61 points or 0.87% at 7,043 in a broad-based rally. 9 out of 11 sectors are trading in green, while financial stocks lead the pack, getting 1.26%. Other sectors are trading higher, including REIT, energy, telecommunications, services, consumer discretionary, utilities, and consumer staples and industrials. Meanwhile, healthcare and materials are the worst performing sectors. Well, the market remained under pressure this week as investors remained concerned over the Federal Reserve's move to tighten monetary policy sooner than expected, to reduce its supply of cheap money that has been propelling financial markets higher throughout the pandemic. For now, however, inflation woes seem to have taken a back seat. And now, moving on to the global markets. The US equities ended higher in an overnight trade, snapping a 3-session losing streak as market-cheered data released by the Labor Department showing drops in jobless claims. US jobless claims fell by 34,000 to a 14-month low of 473,000 in the past week, indicating a recovery in the world's largest economy. The blue chip index Dow Jones ended 1.29% higher on Thursday, while S&P gained 1.22% and tech-heavy Nasdaq up 1.72% on the back of gains in heavyweights such as Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook. And now looking at the commodity space, gold price rose higher on Thursday as retreats in Treasury yields helped the yellow metal gain some ground. The spot gold prices rose higher by 0.25% to $1,872.30 an ounce as the yield on the US 10-year bond eased to 1.66%. Tracking rise in gold prices, ASX-listed gold stocks such as Regis Resources Limited, Gold Resources Limited, Ramelius Resources, Silver Resources, St. Barbara Limited, and Newcrest Mining Limited could be trading higher today. And now moving on, energy sector is under the scanner today. Oil prices recede on Thursday as investors were wary about the coronavirus crisis in India, and a key US fuel pipeline resumed operations. Brent crude tumbled 3.5% to 66.93 US a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude closed 3.8% lower at 63.53 a barrel. Australian energy players such as Woodside Petroleum Limited, Beach Energy Limited, Origin Energy Limited, and Oil Search Limited will be in focus. And now moving on to the crypto space. Bitcoin plunged as low as 47,150 overnight when Tesla CEO Elon Musk said that the largest automaker would not be accepting Bitcoin as payment anymore because of its high energy use. The sentiment was further dented by reports that the US Justice Department is investigating crypto exchange Binance. The digital currency is currently trading below 50,000 US. And meanwhile, Dogecoin, after falling over 21% on Wednesday, rebounded over 6% to 0.414 US. And now moving on to the major news makers. Shares of Australian gold will remain in focus after the gold mining company made a weak debut on the ASX on Thursday. The gold stock declined as much as 20% to 0.16 on stock market debut on Thursday, against offer price of 0.20 Australian. Pairing some of the early losses, Australasian gold stock settled days trade at 0.17, down 15%. And carsales.com Limited shares may start to trade again after the trading halt on the ASX today. The company had requested the stock exchange for a trading halt to raise funds for 49% stake acquisition in the US-based Interactive for nearly $800 million. Orbital Corporation Limited, in an exchange filing, said it had met the first major milestone of its engine development program with 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐥 Engines, a subsidiary of Textron Incorporated. The company shared it had provided 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚𝐥 with an initial prototype engine for evaluation. And BNPL firm Lay-By Group Holdings announced it has appointed John Gillian into a newly created role of General Manager UK and Europe. Lay-By Managing Director Gary Roloff said the appointment of John is an important step for Lay-By as it focuses on its growth in the United Kingdom. And Q-Mines Limited recently announced it has started trading on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, as there was robust support from many different European funds and high net worth investors during its recent IPO. With global demand increasing for quality copper companies, Q-Mines is well positioned. Strategic Elements Limited announced conducting a feasibility and scoping study with the Defence Science and Technology Group, DST Group, for autonomous sensing and search of chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear sources. The study is expected to cover the integration of DST Group search algorithms into hardware and software platforms of subsidiary company Stealth Technologies, autonomous unmanned ground vehicle and unmanned airborne vehicle, along with the developing of an initial software exemplar. And Codan Limited has entered a deal to acquire all the shares in the US-based company Domo Tactical Communications. DTC is a known technology provider for high bandwidth wireless communications with specialist capabilities in MIMO mesh networks. Brokerage firm Jefferies has retained buy rating and upgraded Treasury Wine Estates price target to $13 Australian from $12. The world's largest listed winemaker, TWE, said it is co-targeting high single-digit average earnings growth over long term and expects operating earnings for FY21 to drop interim earnings. And now, the important updates to keep an eye on for today. The numbers on the production of agricultural commodities such as cereal, broadacre crops, fruits and vegetables for the reference period 2019 to 20 financial year will later be released today by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. The provision data on international travel based on initial border crossings, arrivals and departures from Australia, including tourism trips for reference period March 2021, will also be out. And meanwhile, the US retail sales data for the month of April will be out as well on Friday. In March, retail sales announced 9.7% advancement. The economists expect the retail sales to gain 1%. The number on industrial production and the University of Michigan consumer sentiment will also be released. All right then, that is all for now. Stay tuned with 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐚 TV for more live market updates. We'll be back with more news on markets, economy, and diverse themes and sectors. This has been Holly Shields signing off.